Hey, welcome to a new video. Mario Lara, a shopkeeper in Mexico, has faced countless problems due to a mysterious small piñata, which was caught on his store's security camera. If you watched his other videos, you'll recognize this mischievous figure, which has caused nothing but chaos for Mario. Reaching his breaking point with the paranormal activity plaguing his store, Mario sought help from a shaman. While the piñata was prominently featured in the footage and appeared to be at the center of the disturbances, things only got worse after the shaman removed it. Much worse. The activity in Mario's shop became more frequent, more violent, and downright insane. Objects flew off walls, and both employees and customers were pelted with items. The chaos escalated to an uncontrollable level, leaving Mario to wonder if the piñata had unleashed something far more sinister.
Are you new to this channel? Make sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell. And before we start, also like the video. Not all creatures we manage to capture on camera can be attributed to supernatural power. After all, there are also a lot of creepy people in the world. This next moment happened to television star Danielle Yancey in Alabama. The video shows the exact moment a man wearing a Ronald Reagan face mask tried to enter her property. Fortunately, he did not enter. Danielle shared the video on the internet, not only to show the creepy incident, but also to see if the intruder can be identified. There's a phenomenon where you see patterns in random things, but convince us otherwise. There's a vengeful-looking face in these clouds. Add to that the cloudy, stormy night with thunder and lightning, and it's no wonder ancient people imagined gods after events like this. A series of tragic and terrifying events. The mother of a girl would have died right in front of their house. However, this place was the mother and daughter's favorite spot where they played regularly. When the girl went to play alone in the same spot a little later, she saw something, and the ball started rolling. Was it her mother?
You're probably wondering, how did this boat end up on top of a rock? The boat allegedly collided with an underwater reef, after which it became stuck at the height of 3 meters. On that Friday morning, the crew of the boat was fortunately rescued. Initially, they hoped that the tide would cause the boat to return to the water, but this was not an option. It ultimately took a lifeboat and a 12-hour operation to get the boat back off the rock. Imagine ending up with a boat on top of a rock. That must be a very incredible story to tell your friends and family. I think they probably wouldn't have been believed if there were no pictures of this incident.
Videos of 2 singing children seem like the nicest things to look back on when they're older, but something tells us they will remember this video forever. A few seconds after singing, the door eerily opens and slams shut on its own. A poltergeist, perhaps?
A chilling video from Japan captures a moment that sends shivers down spines, as a violently shaking camera creates an atmosphere of impending doom. Suddenly, a figure sprints through the building, their scream piercing the air, filled with pure terror. The sound is deafening. Loud thuds reverberate through the structure, as if the very foundations are collapsing beneath them. On the 51st floor of a high-rise building, fear grips the occupants. People crouch against the walls, their eyes wide with panic, their hearts pounding. As they brace for the unknown, amid the chaos, a calm tour guide emerges, becoming a beacon of reassurance. With authority and composure, she quickly takes charge, instructing the frightened group to kneel and stay low to prevent injuries, and to remain safe as they wait for their updates. This footage, taken on November 3, 2011, serves as a harrowing reminder of an impending disaster. Just 1 week later, Japan experienced the strongest earthquake in its history, triggering a catastrophic tsunami that claimed over 20,000 lives.
Time travelers hardly try to hide it anymore. They also keep putting themselves in volatile situations, such as teleporting at the moment a news camera turns. If the camera hadn't captured the man appearing out of nowhere, no one would have believed the people on the street that day. When your motion detectors start working, it might be best to see what you see on the camera before you physically step outside. In this case, the man had to run into a creepy alien-like creature. This homeowner said he kept getting alarms from his motion sensors and they were turning on and off throughout the night. At first, he couldn't determine what exactly was causing it. But after looking at the video footage, he got his answer. And he wished he hadn't looked for it, because what he saw on camera was an alien appearing behind his fence who was probably scouting the neighborhood. If anything is straight out of Stranger Things, it's this haunted house with clocks in every room, plants that only survive in one room, trembling chandeliers, and animal bones. But then there's Gilbert the Ghost, a painting in the attic that allegedly radiates sinister energy. The boy who lives there claims it's one of his best friends, and that the man who previously lived there painted it. When asked what Gilbert tells him, the boy says he doesn't pray. After finding a series of creepy objects like a Ouija board with sun symbols, a doll, and an old photo of a boy who used to live there, they decided to contact Gilbert with the board. They found more than a dozen buried dolls on the property, including in crawl spaces and buried in the garden, which were twisted in shape and from different eras. They emit intense energy. One doll in particular seems to possess the most energy.
Be careful what your children say about their imaginary friends. Sometimes they're not even imaginary, and in the worst case scenario, your kids are talking to a ghost. What makes this video even scarier is that when the child's caught, the ghost disappears. In a downright terrifying spectacle captured on camera, a ghostly figure was seen effortlessly gliding back and forth along the pathways of the gardens. The captivating footage was shared on the popular Facebook page, The Way I See Liverpool. A mysterious presence appears for about a minute, and then completely disappears, and it's given many people the creeps. What makes this situation even spookier is that this is a cemetery where more than 58,000 bodies rest. According to the story, this was just one of the many ghosts or entities that still linger here. The most famous ghost to be found in this cemetery is a sea captain who met a suspicious end. What would your reaction be if you saw a figure like this gliding back and forth in a cemetery? This eerie video was recorded by a man named Steve Ballard during his exploration of the historic Fort Greene tunnels. Built in the 1860s to protect the confluence of the Thames and Medway rivers during rising tensions between England and France, these tunnels are notorious for their haunted reputation. Visitors often report hearing crying children and wailing women, likely mourning fallen soldiers. Steve and his team decided to explore the tunnels alone, or so they thought. Slowing down the footage for better clarity, Steve noticed something chilling. Did you catch it? As the light shines at the end of the tunnel, a dark figure suddenly appears and seems to walk through a solid wall before vanishing completely. YouTube viewers were astonished by this footage, with many claiming it's one of the most convincing shadow figures ever captured on camera.
Count with us to these construction workers. 1, 2, 3, 4, and then a body without a head. What kind of optical illusions make a person's entire head disappear while the body remains completely upright? It remains a mystery, but the fact that the video was filmed at night gives a disturbing impression. Don't you agree? A young boy named Jackson was filmed while looking for someone he called Ghosty. The video claims that there's a ghost wandering around the house. The boy tells his parents that he even sees the ghost.
A ghosty.
A ghost?
Yeah, a ghosty.
Grove Street Cemetery in New London, Ohio was struck by a heart-wrenching crime. A visitor hoping to pay tribute to her beloved parents, grandparents, and great-grandparents was shocked to discover that the cherished memento she placed on their graves had disappeared. This incident unfolded when two audacious women shamelessly pilfered flowers and keepsakes from the headstones, unaware that their actions was being recorded by hidden cameras. As time passed, more and more items mysteriously vanished from the cemetery. Broken-hearted individuals noticed the absence of sentimental objects, such as a flower pot lovingly given to a non-deceased father in 1977. As the number of missing items grew, the community sought the assistance of local law enforcement. However, the hidden cameras revealed the brazen thieves who arrived in their car and stopped at various headstones. As if they were shopping, they unabashedly exited the vehicle and combed the cemetery grounds. These stolen treasures were callously collected and stashed in their car. Once satisfied with their loot, the women nonchalantly returned to their vehicle and drove away. Thanks to the hidden cameras, their identities were exposed, and they were arrested. Surprisingly, one of them was a well-known and beloved government official. The purpose of a bridge is to allow people to cross where it's otherwise not possible. When bridges are built over water, it means that not all ships can pass under them. In this video, we see a giant ship approaching, and you would think that the collision is only a matter of time. In most cases, the person driving the boat should know the height of the bridge and the height of his own boat, so it sometimes happens that boats are only just able to pass under a bridge. In this video, the boat seems to be able to pass under the bridge, otherwise there would have been a much bigger problem.
Whether it's the association with The Grudge and Ring movies, there's something extra creepy about long-haired female ghosts. Mr. Huang from Taipei, Taiwan was reviewing old videos of his daughter when he saw such a ghost at the desk behind his daughter, who was singing and dancing. A 2-year-old baby shocked their family when they claimed to see a man standing next to them. This was at 8 p.m., and they added a creepy description to the man's appearance. The man would look like he was on a plane, which the parents interpreted as a ghost flying or floating.
On a crisp autumn day, as the leaves turned golden and the air filled with a haunting chill, unsuspecting pedestrians were startled while walking through a wooded area. Dressed in long white robes with exaggerated black eyes piercing through the darkness, ghostly figures lay hidden among the trees. The atmosphere was thick with tension. As unsuspecting victims approached. Suddenly from the shadows, several ghostly figures leapt out, sending everyone into a frenzy of fright. Shrieks filled the air as panic took hold. More ghostly figures emerged from every direction, transforming the forest path into a maze of apparitions and amplifying the terror for those passing by.
For a while, this boy seemed to be having a relationship with a ghost in his house. At some point, however, they seem to have a disagreement where the boy actively argues as if he's had enough. The creepiest part? You can hear a voice apologizing, though it's not clear whether it's a man or a woman. In broad daylight, ghosts can apparently still have a shadow, as we see here in the video. It's very strange and cannot be explained. It must be pretty creepy to look across the street and see a shadow without a person. Don't you agree? You probably heard of people who drop to the ground in the middle of the road in front of a car. This way, they try to sue you for money. In this video, the same trick seemed to be happening. But when the motorist got out, he saw no one around his car. No one would have believed this story if he had told it, but fortunately, everything was filmed with a security camera. As the car passes, we see a dark shadow appear and head toward the car. Then the man hits the brakes, and upon checking, he sees that the figure has disappeared. One of the biggest fears of parents is to see their daughter happily running into a pitch-black room to greet an invisible person. Who were you talking to? Any parent could ask, afraid of the answer. Like this one when the child names a name like Nina. What would your reaction be? In this video, we see two little girls playing in a kitchen, but soon this night turns out to be something that will haunt them for the rest of their lives. The two girls saw a ghost in the back of the kitchen, which scared them and made them run away crying. As a child, did you ever walk past a scary house and swear you saw something move? That's what happened in this next video. You can follow the ghost movements everywhere, and you can almost swear it's watching you the whole time. There are a few things that can give adults the scare of their lives, but at the top of this list is a ghostly young girl calling out for her mother in a cemetery. This incident occurred in 2006 at a cemetery somewhere in Mexico. A reporter from a Mexican television program was fascinated by the supernatural, and although he was quite skeptical and didn't believe in the existence of ghosts, he got the fright of his life during this particular incident. Rumor has it that he even quit his job after seeing this ghost. This would be a nightmare for many people. As he walked into the cemetery, he was confronted in the distance by a ghostly girl crying out for her mama in a terrifying manner. According to the story, it later turned out that there was no one present in the cemetery, leaving these video images as a mystery. Creepy clowns. I think most people want to stay far away from them. In 2016, many incidents of clowns were reported in the United States, Canada, and other countries. In this video that comes from 2014, a clown was spotted in California at someone's front door in the Springfield area. According to the story, a number of mysterious and terrifying clowns allegedly terrorized the streets for several weeks. Some people report seeing the clowns running out of the woods to scare people. But imagine if the doorbell rings at your house at night and you see a clown standing in front of your security camera. Pretty creepy, huh?
This terrifying footage shows someone walking upstairs, opening a door, and coming face to face with a humanoid figure with bleeding eye sockets. Who or what is this? According to many, it's Eyeless Jack. Eyeless Jack is a humanoid figure known for wearing a black hoodie and a blue mask, with hollow, bleeding eye sockets. His origin story often involves a man named Mitch, who moves in with his brother Edwin after losing his home. Shortly after, Mitch discovers that one of his kidneys has been surgically removed while he slept, leading to a horrifying encounter with Eyeless Jack. Jack is infamous for his gruesome methods, which include removing and consuming the organs of his victims, particularly their kidneys. Before striking, he is said to stalk his targets, often appearing while they sleep. In this video, he seems to be doing just that, lurking ominously in the shadows.
This event was caught on camera just after the death of the Queen of England. You would almost begin to believe that ghosts in the afterlife really exist. In the video, we see a headgear moving from the guard. Several people believe this was the spirit of the Queen and her sense of humor. If some people are to be believed, vampires walk among us. Witnesses near this cemetery in London described chilling encounters with a mysterious figure dressed in Victorian attire and a top hat. According to tales, he was a medieval nobleman who dabbled in dark arts in Romania. Claimed to be a vampire, he was said to have been transported to England in the 18th century in a coffin. However, it was only when modern-day Satanists disturbed his eternal rest at the cemetery in London that he rose from the realm of the dead. Among those who claim to have seen this eerie apparition is David Farrant, a prominent figure associated with the British Occult Society. David was one of the first to encounter the so-called vampire in 1969. In a letter, he described his sighting of a gray figure near the cemetery. The following year, a headless and charred female body was discovered in close proximity to the cemetery. In August 2005, another witness saw the figure gracefully floating from east to west along Swains Lane in the cemetery. And in 2012, a man named James Dobbin captured an image during his visit to the historic cemetery. Would you dare to visit this place after hearing these stories? One of the most terrifying moments has to be when you're in the middle of the sea and your boat breaks into pieces. So the people who were steering the ship were pretty shocked too. This event took place in January 2021, and we see how a 46-year-old ship called the MV Arvin dramatically broke in two. Moments later, it would sink to the bottom of the east coast of Turkey in the Black Sea. What makes this incident even more horrific are the following events. The crew sent out several distress signals, and two other ships were present and in sight. Yet the ship and most of the crew couldn't be saved. Therefore, the story unfortunately had a bad ending. It was later revealed that the ship had previous problems with its structure and damaged shutters.
A boy is home alone with his baby sister, and he decided to set up a camera to catch her playing with her food. But what happened next was quite creepy. The girl talks to something or someone, and then the fork on the table seems to move by itself.
This video marks the beginning of a series of extraordinary events that would soon overwhelm a young woman's life. To her followers, it was a disturbing incident that raised countless questions about its origins. While she spoke to her audience, a hat resting on a shelf behind her began to move, as if touched by an invisible force. Intrigued and determined to find answers, the woman recorded a follow-up video, which quickly gained hundreds of comments due to the bizarre events she documented. In a startling moment, the hat was forcefully thrown off the shelf, leaving no doubt that this was no coincidence. Convinced that something paranormal was happening, she decided to try communicating with whatever entity was manifesting in her home. Subsequent videos captured numerous strange occurrences, but none were as shocking as an incident that happened at her sister's house. In a chilling moment, an inexplicable presence was caught on camera, moving swiftly across the frame and prompting the sisters to investigate. Many viewers speculated that it might be a shadow figure. What do you think?
Be careful where you live. This woman accidentally stumbled upon a strange phenomenon. Every time she looked into the camera with the church behind her house, the camera version of her distorted. The same is true when she's in her garden, and no, this is not a filter. Just the disturbing effect of the church. Theories go even beyond the church being possessed and say that these are multiple versions of the woman from other universes. There's many people in the world who do not believe in ghosts at all. However, many security guards who work in cemeteries and hospitals say that they have actually seen strange things happen from time to time. The man in this video did not initially believe in ghosts either. He's a security guard at a hospital and was on night shift. He explains that at one point, he felt a cold air fly by and decided to throw a book at it. When he looked back at the security camera, he believed it could have been a ghost or a deceased person floating by. So it looks like his opinion changed about ghosts after this event. It's videos like these that make you wonder what's happening behind every time you turn your back or leave a door ajar. The person who recorded the video also revealed that nerve-wracking things always happen in the house. You would have to sleep with one eye closed if you saw this in real life. What do you think they captured on camera? A ghost? When a woman walked downstairs at night, she saw two ghosts with glowing eyes sitting on her couch. According to the woman, she heard laughter and giggles. When she walked downstairs and found the ghosts, she was startled and probably decided to move out immediately. In a shocking twist of events, a husband was faced with the unthinkable when the woman he had paid to have murdered showed up at her own funeral. The man had concocted a plan to end the life of his wife of 10 years, Noella. This plan unfolded in early 2015, while Noella had returned to her homestead of Burundi. Their paths had crossed 11 years earlier, shortly after Noella's arrival in Australia from Burundi. At the time, the man, a recent refugee from the Democratic Republic of Congo, and Noella were both under the care of the same social worker. The bond deepened, led to love, and they built a life together in Melbourne, where they raised 3 children. But the hired hitman refused to end Noella's life. Instead, she emerged from that ordeal with a memory card containing recorded conversations with the man who hired to kill her. At her own funeral, Noella revealed herself to her husband. When she stepped out of the car, he was so shocked that he started screaming. Noella then called the police, and the man was sentenced to 9 years in prison.
In a chilling series of videos, a boy named Aiden claims his house is haunted, and the evidence he presents is enough to give anyone chills. The eerie shadow initially remains motionless, creating an ominous atmosphere. Each night, as Aiden prepares to turn off the lights, a shadowy figure begins to materialize in the corner of his room. A girl in a flowing dress, faintly illuminated. When Aiden flips the switch and plunges the room into darkness, the figure becomes clearer. With each flick of the light, she edges closer, her presence more threatening. The dim light highlights her long, cascading hair and a flowing gown as she moves slowly but deliberately toward him. Overcome with terror as he draws nearer, Aiden bolts from the room, fleeing the terrifying sight. What makes Aiden's encounters particularly intriguing is their striking similarity to the popular viral short film and subsequent feature film Lights Out. Both tell the story of a malevolent entity that lurks in the darkness, revealing itself only when the lights are out. The uncanny resemblance between Aiden's experiences and the film's narrative has led to many questions about the authenticity of his claims.
A man hid a camera in the closet after noticing possessed behavior by his wife. Watch and see. At night, she comes alive. Her jaw relaxes enough to scare other spirits in the area. Could you imagine going to the bathroom at night and coming back to see your partner like this? Stephen King might take notes from videos like this one. Armed men enter a cemetery and discover that their target is unfazed by their presence. These men encounter the ghost of a woman resembling the Grudge. As we can see, she's sitting on a tombstone, and no one's brave enough to get close. But what happens next is even scarier. When she notices the men, she shows that she sees them and responds menacingly, standing on the grave. The men decide to flee immediately, only to find the nearest gates are locked with chains. What follows is a nerve-wracking couple of minutes as the men continue to navigate the cemetery in almost pitch-black darkness, fearing the moment when the woman will reappear. The ocean is creepy enough, but this next moment had to do not with waves, but with ghosts. Welcome to the USS Yorktown, a ship with a long history dating back to the World War II. She differs from other ships in that people believe the old crew still haunts the ship. Passengers and people who have been given tours of the ship say they have always felt like they are being followed. Some people claim to have seen shadows flying past in the windows. One particular area of the ship where there's a catwalk seems to have more paranormal activity than the other areas. When a film crew took a tour, they reported the same findings and left with real evidence of spirit activity. As we see, the camera captured two images of ghosts wandering down a hallway. During an interview with the tour guide, you can also hear some whispering in the background.
Security cameras sometimes capture the creepiest things. But the security camera of a couple recorded the moment their child was possessed. You would think this scene is from a horror movie, but no, this was real. The scariest part is when the child starts crying and screaming and their eyes begin to glow. Could they really be possessed by a ghost?
In the bustling heart of downtown Carrollton, Texas, an area long associated with an eerie atmosphere, lies a peculiar side of supernatural intrigue. The Rainbow Fountain and Grill restaurant, a beloved local eatery, claims to house an unusual resident, a playful ghost dog named Watson. Unlike stereotypical ghosts that send chills down spines, Watson's a spirit canine whose antics have been captured on the restaurant's recently installed security cameras. The building, rich with history, was originally the state home of Carrollton's esteemed doctor, Dr. Blackburn. Known for his dedication, Dr. Blackburn was often seen making house calls with his loyal companion, Watson, by his side. Their bond was legendary, a testament to the deep connection between humans and their pets. But as the property transitioned into the Rainbow Fountain and Grill, Watson's spirit seemed unwilling to part with his beloved home.
Always respect your neighbor's privacy. But what if you suspect paranormal activities going on? If not, why are their heads simultaneously turning to the camera? If I lived next door to this house, I would have moved a long time ago. Noel Boyd is a man who was shown creepy CCTV footage by his brother who lived in Singapore. In the video, we see a ball of light moving through the apartment complex, which people say could be the energy of a ghost. The place where this happened was in Tampines, a neighborhood in Singapore. There's always much debate in the paranormal community whether orbs of light are actually ghosts, or if they are just dust particles. What do you think? Let me know in the comments.
There is a chance that not every ghost children see is a total stranger. This mother says she believes it's the ghost of her own mother. You can even see a light orb pass by at the beginning of the video, followed by the girl who seems to notice something too.
No one fights harder than a cornered witch. Concentrating on the darkened roof, you see a dark figure crouched. In the street, a troop of young men are trying their hardest to get onto the roof. As if pushed by a supernatural force, they all fall down before they reach the top.
Encountering a ghost at a cemetery on live television must be one of the scariest things ever. With a video, the footage could still be edited, but how do you explain this next moment when a ghost literally flies by on television? News anchor Sam Hessler was also startled when she later heard that she wasn't alone at the cemetery. Sam was covering a story about spooky twilight hours being offered at Greenridge Cemetery in Saratoga County. Keep in mind that this was a live broadcast, so when the viewers tuned in, there was no way the ghost could have been digitally animated. Later, a viewer contacted the morning news channel, asking if anyone had seen the orb-like figure. No one noticed it at the time of the filming, but when everyone reviewed the footage later, they believed that it might have been a real ghost.
Randonautica is an app that gives you random coordinates to explore local areas. As soon as they arrived at the area, the boys got a bad feeling. The first warning they got was a random stone thrown their way. The second was a creepy sight they encountered, and then they decided to leave the place and delete the app immediately.
Oakwood Cemetery, located in Farmington, Michigan, appears to defy the laws of physics and captivates visitors with its peculiar phenomenon. This intriguing phenomenon occurs on a shallow hill within the cemetery, where an unusual gravitational effect takes place. When vehicles are placed in neutral at the bottom of the hill, they suddenly start rolling uphill. To observe this phenomenon, visitors often choose the farthest entrance of the cemetery and embark on a short downhill journey. The driver in this case demonstrates the phenomenon by putting the car in neutral and taking their foot off the pedals. Initially, as expected, the vehicle begins to roll downhill. This initial movement aligns with the principles of traditional physics and gives no hint of the extraordinary phenomenon that is yet to come. Some people believe that this phenomenon is the result of the paranormal cemetery located near the hill. How do you think the car defies gravity without external forces and rolls uphill without the driver applying the pedals? Let me know in the comments. Have you ever been on a boat and experienced gigantic waves? If so, it must have been pretty terrifying. Waves can actually reach incredible heights. In this next video, we see an empty boat smashing into waves and is thrown around as if it were made of toys. Not surprisingly, the waves cause the boat to capsize. However, larger vessels could just easily have the same problem. The area in the South Sea where the ship is located is known for their huge waves, which can reach a height of 30 meters. In this video, a cruise ship faced a similar situation. The Grand Voyager collided with Cyclone Valentina in the Mediterranean Sea in 2008. You hold your breath as the ship is pushed to the side, and seconds later, it almost completely turns on its side. According to the more than 700 passengers on board, dishes, equipment, and bottles flew in all directions.
A playground is usually a fun place with swings and slides and other play equipment. But a boy was filming a playground when a ghost child appeared in front of his camera. Pretty scary if you ask me.
In this video, a paranormal investigator named Ian, known as the Midwest Ghost Hunter, ventures out alone at night in search of the supernatural. He chooses to investigate the remote and reportedly haunted Vicksburg Cemetery, which is deep in the woods of Minnesota. As Ian begins his exploration, he expresses fear of both supernatural and natural dangers. He shares local legends, including tales of a glowing grave and blood drip flowers. As he approaches the cemetery, Ian hears unexplained footsteps, making him uneasy as he calls out to any presence, but nothing happens. Upon entering the cemetery, Ian encounters decayed graves, including one belonging to a woman named Vesta Black Davis. Using a K2 meter to detect electromagnetic activity, he tries to communicate with any spirits present. At one point, Ian hears what he believes is the faint whisper of a woman's voice, though the words are unclear. His camera's battery unexpectedly drains, a phenomenon often associated with paranormal activity. The investigation becomes even more intense when Ian discovers the graves of two young girls, Nanny and Ida Bickle. who died at a young age. He hears what he interprets as their voices and captures a photo that appears to show two ghostly figures resembling young girls. On multiple occasions, Ian sees glowing lights or orbs near the graves and even feels a gentle touch on his shoulder, which he attributes to a playful spirit.
The excuse, "the camera obviously has a malfunction," can only get you so far. Almost everyone who's seen this video agrees. This woman is either walking some kind of disabled dog with 3 legs, or some other creature of a more sinister nature.
If there was no camera to document this next instance, no one would have believed it happened. This creepy moment took place in a dorm and captured what looks like a poltergeist entering and terrorizing the room. A poltergeist is a ghost known to move objects or disrupt electrical equipment. In this video, we see a man lying on the bed who was suddenly pulled up by an invisible force. What I wonder after seeing this video is, how on earth can you fall asleep in the same room again? Playing and investigating children is something every child does. But when this child was playing, the father captured something terrifying on camera. The child plays and crawls into a closet when suddenly an extra spooky hand appears.
Whether this is a full-fledged ghostly apparition or a real person, this next incident remains quite eerie and gets creepier by the second. Does anyone remember that episode of The Simpsons where they opened a cemetery right behind their house? And Lisa, scared at night, kept looking at the gravestones from her bedroom window? This seems like a similar scenario. But here we see a young girl dressed in white walking, running, or playing in the cemetery. At one point, the cameraman mentions that she was picking flowers from the graves around. Then she ran around as if it were a playground rather than a resting place for people. However, it's unclear where exactly this took place, but people in the comments are debating whether it was a real ghost or just a girl dressed in white. What do you think?
The cafe employee didn't believe in ghosts until he saw one a few feet away from him. Looking for a coworker, he decided to check the CCTV footage. What he found was the ghost of a little nanny in a dress. Pretty creepy.
The person in this video thought it would be a good idea to explore a haunted building, but as he turned a corner, he got the fright of his life. He saw a dark figure sneaking by in the background. The figure was wearing a hoodie, and its eyes seemed to glow, which understandably scared the cameraman. He backed away and decided to film somewhere else. The rest of the floor was equally dilapidated, filled with rubble and decay. After some hesitation, curiosity got the better of him, and he decided to return to the same corner. As he approached, he experienced an overwhelming sense of dread, almost like a heart attack without the physical symptoms. The figure's glowing red eyes, almost demonic in appearance, made him freeze in terror. Pretty creepy, don't you think? Have you ever experienced something scary? Let me know in the comments. If you liked the video, give it a thumbs up. If you want to see more videos we've made, click one on the screen or take a look at the channel. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.